We need to talk about Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. I'm telling you, y'all, this movie is bonkers. Like straight up bonkers. Like Disney's bonkers. Because up to this point, we've either had Disney live action remakes that have been like based on the source material, but not exactly the same as the source material, like Maleficent or Dumbo. We've had some Disney live action remakes that were pretty close to the source material, but with a few changes here or there, like The Jungle Book or Aladdin. And then you have some Disney live action remakes that are pretty much the live action version of the animated one. Except now it has a CGI beast or CGI lions. But unless you count Through the Looking Glass from the Alice movies, this is the first Disney live action remake that is now getting a sequel. And what's interesting about Sleeping Beauty is that it's actually one of the few Disney animated movies that I can think of that doesn't have a direct-to-video sequel already made. Like, if they want to do a sequel to Aladdin, they could do The Return of Jafar or The King of Thieves. If they want to do a sequel to Lion King, they could do Simba's Pride. If they want to do a sequel to Beauty and the Beast, they could do Belle's Magical Christmas or something. I don't know. This is all on them now. It's like you set up the world, you set up this different take on Maleficent. What are you going to do now? And the movie was like everything. Every idea you got, throw it in. And that's what happened with this movie. That's why I gotta break this down. Spoiler alert, this video contains spoilers, like basically the entire movie. So it starts off 5 years after the original movie, which I vaguely remember. Aurora is awake. She's now the queen of the Moors, which is like the magical land where they have all these fairies and pixies, and fairy kings, birds that talk and fish that sing. No, that's not it. That's not this place. That's a different place with David the Gnome. But yeah, they got all these pixies, these fairies, these creatures, these talking trees. They have Sonic the Hedgehog. Let me explain this. There is this creature that they set up as like Aurora's little friend, and she's a hedgehog basically. Got little quills and everything, and she runs around really fast, and she even like spins into a little ball and let's just say spin jumps from one place to the other. And I'm like, this thing is Sonic the Hedgehog. Disney made Sonic the Hedgehog in their movie. I mean, I know they had Sonic the Hedgehog in Wreck-It Ralph, but I'm like, they made their own now. There's even a point where this thing jumps inside of like a gold crown ring and like runs around in the ring. I'm like, come on! Just give it the voice of Jaleel White at this point. But back to the movie. So 5 years have passed. Phillip's all like, meet me at the altar with your white dress. We ain't getting no younger. We might as well do this. And Aurora's all excited, and the little three fairies that are her friends help her out. I forget what their names are, so I'm just gonna call them Huey, Dewey, and Louie. But of course, Maleficent is like, don't ruin my morning. Angelina Jolie just rolls up and is like, you ain't getting married to nobody. Them humans are terrible. Did you forget that they cut off my wings one time? I don't trust them. And the reason why she's really not down for this, other than the fact that she don't like humans, is because by having Aurora marry Phillip, that means that the Moors, the magical land, will have a bonding peace with Ulstead, which is where all the humans live. And Maleficent ain't having that because she knows that people from Ulstead has been coming up into her land, taking their creatures. They even had to kill a couple of them. Giant Tree was just like, no, boom. So she's like, I ain't about this. But Aurora's like, but I love Phillip. He's there. So I love him. So let's just make this happen. So she's like, all right, I'll go meet the in-laws and then we'll do this. So they have to do this whole thing, descendant style, where they make like a whole little bridge that goes from their land to the other land, and Maleficent comes by and everyone's afraid of her. Like when she's walking into the throne room to meet the in-laws, all the servants are like, I don't know if I'm ready to do this. So Maleficent has to go and meet the queen and the king. The queen, played by Michelle Pfeiffer. Michelle Pfeiffer is wild in this movie. This movie is like, we ain't got time to waste. We gonna let you know right off the bat that Michelle Pfeiffer is the bad guy. Now, we're not gonna let anyone else in the movie know. We're gonna keep having things happen around her where everybody goes, who did that? Who's sending people in to take all the creatures away? Who's causing a war between the two of us? Who has a secret underground lair where they're building weapons to form an attack? Who could this possibly be? When the movie tells us right up front, it's Michelle Pfeiffer, Queen. And we're just sitting there going like, do we need Dora the Explorer to help you out with this? Like, why do you not see this? There's a woman that works for Michelle Pfeiffer's character, and she has these big eyes. I think she was in Fantastic Beasts. She just always comes off as like this badass, like she's ready to fight anybody. But she's like tiny. So it's like really kind of funny to be like, what? I don't care if I'm small. I don't care if I got a little short red haircut. I'll kick you. And I'm like, I like her. I like this girl. She's got moxie. And then there's his brother. I think his name is Percival. He's like the head guard, and he's a black dude But he is always just like, I don't like them over there, them fairy creatures and them the magical creatures and the talking trees and what. I don't like that. I don't think we need to deal with that. We need to get rid of them. And I'm like, dude, you need to calm down with that, because if Olstead is all like, you know what, we're done with all these magical creatures, we got rid of them, we're purifying and gentrifying that area. Who you think gonna be next? You don't think the queen and the king be like, all right, we took care of all those magical creatures. Do we need black people too? So they have this dinner so that Maleficent can meet the in-laws, and Michelle Pfeiffer Queen throws so much shade at Maleficent. It is a shade fest. She at one point is all like, oh, Aurora, I can't wait till you get married to Phillip and you can live here and then you can have a real mother. Do you know who you talking to, Michelle Pfeiffer? That's Maleficent over there. She will put you to sleep. Oh, and the other thing they do at this dinner is they give Maleficent an iron spoon and an iron fork and an iron knife. Iron is Maleficent's kryptonite. She can be all powerful, all magical, but you put some iron next to her and she can't do it. She has an iron deficiency. She does not like any movies starring Tony Stark. This scene is actually one of my favorite scenes of the movie, and I was all about this. I was like, all right, we get some wacky Meet the Parents, Shrek 2 antics, because now these two families have to try to work together. And of course they don't like each other. And I was like, okay, there could be some interesting conflict in this, some natural progression of conflict. That don't last long. Michelle Pfeiffer just goes that extra line and Maleficent's just like, no! And it stands up and there's green gas everywhere. And she's all like, there will be no wedding. She will not get married. Come, beastie. And Aurora's like, but I want to stay. And Michelle Pfeiffer Queen goes behind the king, pretty much looking like she got something in her hand. And then the king falls down. And everyone's like, gee, Maleficent must have done that. So once everyone starts accusing Maleficent of putting a spell on the king, she's like, I'm out. She flies out of here. And then crazy badass girl says like, I'm gonna shoot her down, because she's got a bullet that's made of iron, because they had this deep underground lair, which they already showed you to prove you that Michelle Pfeiffer is the villain, but yet we're still acting like, who is the villain? So they have her have this underground lair where all these people are taking down iron so they can have iron bullets to shoot at Maleficent and anyone like her. So she does a little poof, and that bullet ball goes through her wing, and Maleficent's all like, ah! And she falls down into the water, and Maleficent is dead. The end. I'm kidding. She's not dead. She would tell Ejiofor wings, come and save her. And then like she gets brought down, and then she wakes up and she's like in this nightgown and barefoot, and she's all like, where am I? And she finds out that she's not alone. There are other dark fae or other people with wings and horns, but there are only a few of them left because human man took them down, and they live underground in like their own secret world. You know how Maleficent has the power to do stuff with all the trees and grass and flowers and stuff? Well, they have different types of dark fae. Collectibles. There are the ones that can do like ice and snow. There's the ones that can do like desert and sand. But you know what they can't do? They can't be immune to iron. Nobody likes iron. No iron giant at all is recommended in the Dark Fae. These characters are in their own world, living their own lives, different from humans, but are human-like, don't like humans around them. Disney, I know you bought Fox, and I know you're gonna make another Avatar movie. I didn't know you would make it this quick. James Cameron was probably watching this going, man, they really do work fast, don't they? Now, remember how I said earlier there was this black dude that worked for the Queen and the King and Phillip that was all like, I don't like any of these other creatures running around here? And I was like, well, that's a very interesting choice. I now see why they have that character, because once you meet the Dark Fae, once you meet all the creatures with the wings and the horns, you can't help but notice that the color palette gets a little varied. When you're in Ulster, when you're in like the mainland or whatever, it's all mostly white with a sprinkle here and a sprinkle there. But when they get to the Dark Fae, they like, every ethnicity, come on down. Everybody can come down here, just as long as you're cool with having wings and horns and you don't like iron. You're in. So I was like, all right, now I see why they had that other dude in the other part, because they didn't want to make it seem like, you know, that could have gone south real quick. I mean, deep south. Oh, Andre, why you gotta make everything about race? But then that's when we meet Chiwetel Ejiofor wings, and Maleficent's all like, oh, hey, what's up? And I was like, oh, shoot, they gonna get a little Maleficent Chiwetel Ejiofor thing going on here. And then Ed Skrein shows up out of nowhere, and I was like, whoa, Francis is here? Oh, shoot! So Ejiofor is Canal, and Ed Skrein is Bora. Chiwetel Ejiofor is all like, Maleficent, you've been around the humans. If you just talk to them, we could form some peace, and maybe they'll understand that we're all the same and we can all coexist and work together. Ed Skrine's wings is all like, nah, man, war. I want to kill them. They killed us. We killed them. Let's get some war going. And you see Maleficent kind of looking back and forth. I was like, I don't know. Which one of these should I kind of get with / follow / get with? And I was like, all right, Disney, this is getting a little progressive, because usually with Disney, it's like, okay, you get one character and they introduce another character, and that's clearly the love interest. So I was thinking they were going to try to get some love triangle thing going. Like, will both of them try to, woo her? Will we get a Chip Dale Gadget thing going where it's like, do you want the peaceful, kind, good-hearted dude, or you want that bad boy that just wants to go out there and cause a war? What to choose, Maleficent? Well, that seemed like it would be a very interesting thing to happen, but that didn't happen, because Chiwetel Ejiofor Wings starts giving a lot of exposition. He explains the land, he explains the people, he explains what happened. He even explains that Maleficent is a descendant of the Phoenix. They make a really big deal that the Phoenix is basically the creature that we came from. Good luck teaching that in schools. And Maleficent is like the last bloodline of the Phoenix, and a Phoenix can rise from the ashes. Now we're going from shade to foreshadowing. And I'm like, Chiwetel Ejiofor, you giving a lot of exposition. And I know what usually happens to a character that gives a lot of exposition that is also in the leader of the group, but is also saying that someone else that's new to the group can help them. Are you also 2 days from retirement, brother? Meanwhile, back at the castle, the king is not dead. He is just fallen asleep. A very similar fate that Aurora went through. And then the prince is basically like, Mom, kiss him. Because I remember that Aurora woke up due to the kiss from someone that loved them. So since you love your husband, you should give him a kiss. And she's all like, boy. And so she actually like leans in, instead of kissing him, is all like, you weakling, and you should have made the war when you started. Now I'm going to start what you should have done, and good night. Kind of funny, because you're just like, oh, well, of course you don't love him because she's evil, because the movie told us that right up front, yet they're still acting like everyone else doesn't know this. She's all like, oh, well. Didn't work. And the whole time I was like, okay, well, we get it. You don't love this dude, so therefore you can't wake him up. But son, do you love your father? Can you give him a little peck on the cheek? You never know. Give him a little forehead kiss. Like, you don't want to kiss your dad? Correct me if I'm wrong. In the first movie, didn't the prince kiss Aurora? But because they were trying to be like, well, no, Disney wants you to have time to find love. It didn't work. But because of Angelina Jolie, because Maleficent was all like, I took care of her and I loved her, when she kissed her on the forehead, that's what woke her up. Isn't that what happened in the first movie? But I was just like, Prince, son, wake your dad up. Anyway, meanwhile, underneath the castle and underneath the war room where all the weapons are getting made, Warwick Davis is just hanging out. He's like a pixie whose wings were also taken away. Apparently, this movie loves to take away wings. Are they delicious? Little Mix is not going to appreciate this world. These wings were meant to fly. That's a really random reference, and I don't know if anyone's gonna get it. But then that's where we find out that all the creatures that were taken away from the magical land, that's where they are. They're like in jars and stuff. There's even one little mushroom dude. He's Toad. So we got Sonic and Toad up in this. He was like one of the creatures that they were looking for that got kidnapped. And what Warwick Davis Pixie is doing is he's trying to figure out how to basically kill his own kind. Damn. And so they find out that there's these flowers that grow whenever someone magical passes away in the magical land. A special flower blooms in their honor. They find out if you mix that flower with iron, you get to make like this super powered death bullet / bomb / dust. If you're a walking tree or a walking flower and you get hit with this stuff, you turn back into a regular tree or a regular flower. If you're a winged being with horns that get hits with this stuff, a la Maleficent and her dark fae friends, you get Thanos. You disappear into dust. What is the deal with Disney constantly killing things with dust? So Michelle Pfeiffer's all like, that's what I want, son. Let's get this war going. So of course they have to go out and get all these flowers, and Maleficent kind of feels this, so she flies back. Bora goes with her, and they find out that all these dudes are taking all the flowers, and she's upset, and then someone sees Maleficent, and they shoot, and it's going towards Maleficent, and you're like, oh no, Maleficent's gonna get hit with a bullet, and she's gonna die. The end. Nope. Chiwetel Ejiofor. God dang it. Chiwetel Ejiofor Faye comes down, stands right in front of her, poop, poop, poop in the back. And he doesn't die right away. They are able to take him back to the land, lie him down. They do like a little Black Panther thing where they try to like use all these stuff around him to get him to feel better, but it ain't working. And Maleficent's like, I'll stay here with you until you get better. The movie keeps going, without Maleficent. You get a good chunk of movie in like the half of the second, half of the third act. Maleficent is like, y'all do you. I'm gonna stay here with this man. So after they get all the flowers, they make all the weapons. So then Michelle Pfeiffer Queen, who still no one has figured out is evil, she goes up to Aurora and she's all like, you know what? We should invite all your woodland creature friends to come over to the wedding. So then the little red-haired girl, as I'm gonna call her now, from Charlie Brown, she doesn't go over to the actual place. She just goes up to the top of the castle and they have like this giant megaphone and she's just like, forest creatures, you're invited to a wedding. You better show up tomorrow at this time and come to this place. And everybody gotta show up. Everybody gotta show up for this wedding that you randomly getting invited to. This is not a trap in any kind of way, by the way. Show up. So all the creatures are like, oh, shoot. And Huey, Dewey, Louie Fairy is like, oh, this is going to be so exciting. Oh! They all show up and they're like, welcome to the wedding. Talking trees and flowers and stuff. And they go into this like church, this building. They're all in there by themselves. They're sitting on one side because they're thinking they're here for the bride and they're thinking everyone else is going to come to be there for the groom. And they're all like, where's the groom side? We're all in here by ourselves. And then someone closes the door and then they put things in front of the door so you can't get out. They're trapped inside. And then the little red-haired girl comes out and like sits at, what is it? Organ, calliope, the thing where like it has all the different pipes, and she starts playing and she's like straight face, just like, I'm like, are you on America's Got Talent right now? But then when she hits a certain key, one of the pipes will pop out a bomb that drops and then smoke comes out, and it's the smoke that turns them from their magical selves into a regular flower tree. So let me break this down for you real quick. In this Disney movie, they send every one of the forest creatures into this one building. They close the building. They lock the building. And they have someone inside dropping gas bombs inside the building to basically kill them all. Da 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 da. Ooh. And then what makes it even crazier is that the creatures, and these are all just CGI creatures, so you don't feel like you would feel anything for them, but they're seriously like, what's going on? Get us out of here! They're like banging on the door and like hiding under the freaking chairs and everything as these things are coming down, and you see like flowers running and then they get hit and they're like, flower! There's one time when the Huey, Dewey, Louie Fairy are about to get hit and this giant tree walks over and is like, no! And he stands over top of them and he gets hit and he's all like, I am Groot, tree! And he turns into a tree and you're like, God dang it, man, this is ridiculous. You weren't just taking all these creatures out. Joker walked in from the theater next door and was like, this is messed up. What are you guys doing? I thought I lived in a society. Do you see this, Murray? And it's weird because Gerda, that's the name of the little red girl. At any point, she could just press the one button and just keep dropping these bombs. But for some reason, she continues to just keep playing music while every once in a while dropping another one of these bombs. So she couldn't just go bam, 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 poop, poop, poop. She has to go and she's looking all serious like, and then the Dewey Fairy, the blue fairy of the three Huey, Dewey, Louie fairies, she pulls a freaking Randy Quaid from Independence Day. So she flies into the pipe that where all the bombs are coming out. She flies into there. This is one of the bombs was about to come out. Gets hit, but then because she gets hit, she turns into a bunch of blue flowers and that blocks the pipes. She sacrificed herself to save everybody else. Tear. Gerda or whatever is all like, oh, why don't you come out? What's going on? And it's all broken. This Gerda, little red-haired girl, she has been a badass this entire movie. She's always got an evil expression on her face, or she's always yelling at somebody. So you thinking that she is going to be able to put up a fight. So she's on a higher platform than everybody else. And how she gets taken out is the other two fairies, Huey and Louie Fairy, fly in her face. And she's all like, get out of my face. And she doesn't notice the railing behind her. And she trips and she falls. And we never see her again. This badass #1 servant taken out because, ooh, fairies in my face. Whoa! Chiwetel Ejiofor Faye is dying. So, of course, Ed Skrein Faye is like, nah, that's not right. We got to do that war. I told you. I don't trust them. Let's go get that war. And so he like rallies everybody up. Like, we doing this. Even Maleficent's like, all right, I think we got to do this. So she puts her head next to Chiwetel Ejiofor's head and he's all like, take my power that I have left or my life force that I have left. And then that's going to make you even more powerful and also change your outfit. And so then they all fly off ready to come and attack. And Michelle Pfeiffer's like, come on in. We were waiting for you. And she gets her whole army going and they start shooting them super weapons. And anytime one of the Dark Fae get hit, psh, and I mean, it is not like a one guy hit or two guys. It is a straight up war. It is a massacre. You are constantly seeing people flying around and it's either a Fae getting hit by something and completely turning into dust, dying, or you see one of them going down on the ground just smacking dudes and doing stuff to them where I'm like, you can't survive that. It is an all-out bloodbath with no blood. That's the Disney way. And at this point, this is when Aurora starts going, you know what? I think something's not right here. So then she starts doing some investigating and then she finds Warwick Davis and find out what he's been doing. And she finds that our Sonic the Hedgehog friend was trapped in there as well as the little Toad friend. It's a Sleeping Beauty story. So of course she finds that the needle, the spinning wheel, and no, she does not touch it. She does not fall asleep, but she's all like, wait a second. And then there's this whole flashback where now you actually see Michelle Pfeiffer. She had the needle, she had that in her hand, and she stabbed the king with it, and that's why he's asleep. So Maleficent shows up in a new outfit. Aurora tries to run to Maleficent, and then Michelle Pfeiffer, of course, got a little weapon, so she throws it at Aurora, and then Maleficent sees the weapon coming, and so she turns Aurora around. Maleficent gets hit in the back with it, turns into dust, dies, the end. Oh, and that original story of Sleeping Beauty where Maleficent was evil? Well, Michelle Pfeiffer, Queen, reveals she's the one that's been telling that story the entire time. So just letting you know that original one's still canon. Remember a while back when I was talking about how there was a Phoenix bloodline in this movie, and you know how a phoenix rises from the ashes? So of course that Maleficent dust starts moving around, and then Maleficent comes back, and you're just like seeing this giant smoke come out. You're like, oh shoot, Maleficent's gonna turn into a dragon. Here comes her dragon form. This is not her final form. She's over 9,000. We about to do this, baby. And instead, she turns into a giant bird. She turns into a phoenix. What is with Disney remakes this year and the giant birds? You had a giant Iago in Aladdin. Now we got this giant bird here in this movie. I'm surprised it didn't make Zazu giant in Lion King. Oh yeah, and the dude that usually gets turned into a raven gets turned into a bear. Because Disney has a thing about those too. Michelle Pfeiffer freaks out, so she just pushes Aurora off the castle. I was like, damn. But of course she gets rescued and everything's fine. Michelle Pfeiffer's like, I gotta get out of here. So she tries to run away, but of course they let the rest of the forest creatures out. They're all freed. Forest creatures and plant vines find Michelle Pfeiffer by herself and they like surround her and you're like, oh shoot, it's gonna be like that Scar moment where you like see a shadow and you see her getting attacked. No, they just grab her, take her outside where she's like, let go of me, leave me alone. And then she puts her down on the ground and then Maleficent turns her into a goat. Because they made a joke earlier in the movie about turning someone into a goat. So I guess they decided that they would turn her into a goat. And even the king's like, that's cool. You can turn my wife into a goat. We good. Oh, I'm awake, by the way. I just woke up. What is going on? So everyone stops fighting. Phillip or Aurora or somebody gives a whole speech. And they're all like, you know what? It's right. Let's stop doing this. Humans and Dark Fae, creatures with wings and horns, and magical forest creatures, we can all be friends now. It's all good. And now Phillip and Aurora, being the true leaders of both realms, can now get married. Now you're thinking, okay, this big war happened. There was a lot of death and sacrifice. So obviously, like in the beginning of the movie, some time will pass and then we'll have the wedding. No, they're like, we're having the wedding right now. They literally go straight from the war to the wedding. There is no time that passes. There is no next day or 2 weeks later or 2 years later. It is literally like, we're gonna literally have the wedding right where we just killed a bunch of folks. And then the humans and the Dark Fae winged creature people are like all together. The Percival, the one brother dude that was all like, oh, I can't stand them. He's sitting next to this fine. He's sitting next to this woman and she's like got her wings out and he's like, what's up, girl? And she's like, oh, and I'm like, seriously? What is your pickup line, dude? Hey, I know I just killed like a bunch of your friends and brothers and sisters, but how you doing? Hey man, you get in when you get in, right? So then Phillip and Aurora get married, and the Huey and Louie fairy are trying to figure out what dress she should wear, pink or green, which I guess, means, hey, Aurora don't need to be wearing white. Apparently something did happen in those 5 years. But then her dress turns blue, and Huey and Louie fairy look over, and it's the flowers that Dewey fairy was before she got hit. And she stays flowers. They don't change her back. She stays that way. Everyone that got turned into their former forms or got turned into dust do not return. They're gone. They're dead. Only Maleficent came back. Have fun at the wedding. Maleficent's all like, cool, we good now. And I'm going to go live with my friends over here. And also, I'll show up when you have your baby. And Philip's like, what? And that's the movie. Are you entertained? Dude, this movie is wacky. I mean, there's some good stuff in it. There's some good performances in it. I will give props to the performances in this movie. But god dang it, man. Like, they were all over the map with this. We got the crazy meet the in-laws plot. We got the underground world plot. We got this crazy war that goes on. And all the time they're trying to be all like Disney magic and promoting tolerance. But you are doing some crazy bonkers stuff to teach this lesson. I kind of almost in a weird way respect Disney for going this wild with it, because this could have been something they could have really just played it super safe. And some people have even complained with Aladdin and Lion King and some of the other Disney remakes that are like, you're playing it safe. This one was like, let's have massacres, let's have wars, let's have creatures being gassed, and let's have a Sonic the Hedgehog. Let's just do whatever. And I'm like, okay. Well, there you go, man. I made fun of a Disney movie. So there are all those people that think I'm getting them Disney checks. I ain't gonna get one for this. And if I got one, return to sender. I don't get Disney checks. Shut up. Does this make you want to see the movie if you haven't seen it? Or if you had seen it, did you have the same feelings that I had watching this whole thing? Please subscribe and keep watching my videos. I love you like a play cousin. I'm Audi 5000. And treat people right, whether they have wings and horns or not. Or they're made out of trees and leaves and grass. Or if they're basically Sonic the Hedgehog. Be nice to Sonic the Hedgehog.